He literally is at
Yeah,
a funeral.
you're
Right.
correct.
Just so
You're
you know,
correct.
we're live. We're live. Or is
Yes, yes,
okay. So literally, we are talking about grief as he is going through grief today. You know?
yes.
Wow, wow. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Erin Delfino has returned from being griefful. The blog, her blog is at beinggriefful.substack.com. She's returned because we had a great time the last time. Well, isn't that a weird thing to say, Erin? Like we had a great time, but we were talking about grief. But we did have a good time. It's like a
Yes,
great
we did.
conversation, right? Sometimes
Yes.
that's what it is. Our lovely Agnes Amasano, your nytaxresolution.com. You know, some of us get grief for that sort of stuff as well. Let's get started and keep moving because today we're also going to talk about part two. Part two, we're going to talk about getting over grief. All right, here we go. And it's going to work today, Agnes. I tested it.
I'm waiting, waiting.
See, I got it to work again. Last week, I don't know what happened.
It worked. Yes.
I don't know what happened last week. We were running that. It just wouldn't work. It wasn't. So again, I'm Orion New Williams here from I Love Babylon this week because that is it's going into the summer. It is the first weekend of summer, but it's not acting like it. It's very overcast. It's not as bad as when the whole sun gets covered over with burning brimstone and fire from Canada, which is the weirdest place for it to come from, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, yes.
You'd expect it to come from the south, but no, it's coming from Canada. And our special guest today is Erin Delfino, a blogger at Being Griefful. Let me just put that up. Okay. I don't know why today I'm a little out of sorts, but we got there. Oh, there it is. There we go. And thank you so very much for coming again, Erin. I guess you had a good time. We didn't chase you away.
No, I enjoyed our conversation. It's kind of weird saying that, talking about the subject of grief, but it was a good conversation. And I think it was a starting point for us. So glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome. You're well. You should. Agnes is the one who was like, "Hey, you know what? We should bring her back because it was great. Not only was it great, but as it turned out, we hit a milestone in how many people were viewing because you were here. We feel like it's because you were here. Okay. Yes, we've been truckling along. We've been doing this, Agnes. We've almost been doing this. Okay, actually, we started in November.
Yeah.
But we've been working together for almost a year now, and I feel like we've just ramped up into this cadence. Like we're getting it done, and I feel very, very happy about that. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, like and subscribe because we're coming for you, YouTubers. We're gonna get that. Have you ever seen that?
No one can escape us. Not the subject that we're talking
about. All right, so today we are going to continue the conversation about grief, and one of the comments that people had last time Erin was here, was that people say things to you that you probably would not want them to say to you when you're in grief, and it's possibly because we don't know what to say. Most of the time, we don't know what to say,
right.
And nobody has said to you that's the wrong thing to say because everybody else is saying the same thing, and so you think that's just the stuff to say, right? So, so great. I was watching this show called Shrinked. It's on.
Oh yes.
You've seen this show? You've seen this show? Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Harrison Ford. I'm sorry, Agnes. so Erin and I kind of know this. Oh my gosh, I don't remember the lead character's name, but Harrison Ford and he are both psychologists in the show, and the guy lost his wife. So his wife passed away. He is drinking, he is smoking, he is taking drugs instead of handling his grief. And he's got a daughter. He's got a teenage daughter, and she basically lives next door with this other woman because daddy is not dealing well with the situation. And they literally show this clip during the show, during the funeral, and there are people coming up to him and saying things like, "You'll be fine. It'll be good." Like the worst possible things that they could possibly say. Things like, let me see if I find one of them because I was writing them down. Oh, yeah. She's in a better place. How about that one, Erin? How's that
Oh
one?
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're at peace now. And
No, but it's difficult. It's difficult for a person who grieves to accept that someone that they being loved by them is in a better place, because you feel that the best place is by your side.
Right,
No,
right.
it's not exactly a better place. But I'm guilty of it myself. I'm guilty of it myself.
You know what? We said that last week, but
Yeah.
I'm going to say again, it's because we don't necessarily know what to say. It's not like everybody knows what to say.
It is difficult. It is difficult because when you're coming to the wake or the funeral and you see a person who is completely falling apart, or people crying or being sad, the first thing in an inexperienced mind is, I'm gonna lighten the mood. I'm gonna make you feel better. There's no such thing.
Yes.
There's no such thing as making a person feel better when they lost part of themselves. So
Uh,
it's
people
How about
tend
this one, Agnes?
comfortable
There is a reason for everything, Agnes. How about that one? You like that one?
yes, there is a reason for, yes, absolutely. God had God's plan.
It's God's plan. Oh my gosh.
It was God's plan. Yeah.
You're reading down my list. I'm over here. I literally have a list. She's in a better place now. It was God's plan. God wanted her or him up in heaven.
right.
This other one. Oh, this was rough. And people tell this to kids all the time. You'll see him or her again someday. And the kid is like, I've seen kids like start crying when you tell them something like that, because they're like,
Yes.
does that mean I'm going in the box too? What? What does that mean?
Or sometimes like, oh, if they're just sleeping, they're just in a deep sleep for the little ones, Yes, we have to be careful when we're talking to little
Yes.
children about grief, but we can't pretend that they're asleep. Then they think,
No.
somebody who may be sleeping
Then they're gonna wake up. Oh,
Yeah.
Wake up, Dad! Wake up! Wake up!
Yeah.
But talking about grief, going to the wake and stuff, people are uncomfortable with grief. It's just how in our culture, in our society, that's how it is. We get uncomfortable, so we don't know what to say. And so then we either learn from example from growing up what others say, or we say those things that we think people want to hear. And sometimes it's best just to not say anything.
Sometimes it's better that way.
Yes.
You're absolutely right, because
But it's that uncomfortableness that people are like, should I say something? I don't know what to say. So, what, there it comes, out of the mouth.
Yeah, you just go and say something, and people. You imagine you get hit with like 5 or 6 of those. I mean, you have to, right? Because if your person passes away, your loved one passes away, and you're at the funeral, people are coming up to you to say whatever it is, and you might hear the same thing, the same wrong thing, over and over and over again. I don't know how you would run away and hide.
I will never forget. I went back to work after my mom passed, thinking that maybe that will help me keeping preoccupied, which you cannot just push certain feelings away and replace them with something else like work. And 2 weeks after my mom passed, I was called into the office and told that I make people uncomfortable because I'm sad and I have tears in my eyes. I have to snap out of it. So, yeah.
That's an interesting thing too. Like, you do grieve to some extent. I mean, as a person who actually has a couple people on my staff, how long should I wait before a person snaps out of it?
Yeah, there's no such thing as snapping out of it, or with time will get better. Everyone has different time frame to start the new normal not the regular life as it was, because never will be, because you're
Right.
missing um that that person that you give all the love to. Now you that love has to it turns into the grief, which is the love that has no place to go. What you're going to do that to learn to deal with that, it takes time, and for everyone is different, and it's depending who is losing whom, what kind of relationships are they. Like, I lost my mom and she was sick for 13 years, so you would think that will be like, as a matter of fact, okay, well, she passed. Everyone was like, oh my god, how come? Like, really? It was expected, but still it hits. Everyone deals with this different way. So
It is different.
there's no time frame whatsoever, because
Right.
it's
There
just
wouldn't
simply
be.
learning how to deal with that love. How you're going to absorb that, how you're going to deal with that. Some people are better at it than others. Some people will come to certain realizations like, okay, I love them, they are always will be part of me, but some people will honor person's wishes to keep moving on certain directions. Doesn't mean that they completely wipe the person out of the life, and some will need years.
Right. They would. They
Well, like
absolutely would.
you said, get over it. Like, we're not going to get over it.
Yeah.
We're going to get through it. We're going to go on, but we're not going to get over it.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's an expectation where, okay, the funeral will make her over in about a month. Well, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It does not, and that's why, for example, Agnes's family literally had a period of mourning, and there were people who chose not to attend what would be considered a happy celebration because they were considered to be in mourning. But
Yeah.
sometimes the ways of Europe that have been going on for so many years do not always translate over to the United States, because we want to do everything different, right? We want to spell everything different. We want to write everything different. We're completely different people. There's no U in color over here, son. In the UK, we spell color with COLOUR. And when I came over here, I had to figure that stuff out. At minimum, you're given 9 days in Jamaica. You go home, people don't bother you or whatever. But yeah, it is what it is. It's a different thing. What can help though? I mean, what are things that you should say or could say that would be at least neutral, definitely not harmful?
Interesting. I will say there's probably no right or wrong in the sense that, like, people's intentions are meant, but if you know that we all have that, I would think that we all have that certain, like, pause, if you would, knowing what to say or what not to say. If we're thinking about, like, is it okay to say, maybe you don't, just, common sense almost. But
Right.
I would say, whatever you do say, you follow it up. If you say you're going to call or you're going to do something, do it. And not for necessarily for the person grieving, but to honor the person that was just lost. You're now saying something to do in remembrance of them. That you'll follow up on the loved one that's grieving.
I went to a wake of my good friend. She lost her husband a couple years ago,
Mhm.
and I didn't have to say anything. I just came up to her, and the look in my face, because I was hurting for her. I knew how much she was hurting. I just embraced her. She started crying in my arms, and that was it. So there was no words exchanged, just the energy,
Understanding.
just the look with understanding, because you cannot say, not everyone. Now I cannot say you cannot, but not everyone can say, I know what you're going through, unless we went through this.
Right.
Or I cannot imagine what you're going through. It's like, count your blessings that you don't, you know. or saying, "Oh, someone lived a full life, or it was his time or her time," and things like, now I'm trying to put myself in a grieving person. That's like, really? You think so, right? That was the time, like,
Right.
or God gave it and take it away. Like,
Oh
really?
my
You're into that?
God.
You have a special collection, so can I ask a couple more questions? If you know everything.
Sometimes maybe just being honest too, saying, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But what do you need? And then listening, what do you need? And maybe they don't need anything, because we don't know what they need. But, whatever it is that you need, I'll be there.
But like you said, listening.
Listening
It's the
is
best
key.
way. Like, I remember myself, like, I could not shut up. I grabbed everyone and anyone who could listen, and I keep repeating the stories over and over. What happened when I got the phone call and all that. It's like, now I'm sitting thinking, I really didn't have to bother everybody with that, but that was my need at the time. So
Right.
yeah, listening, not talking, listening.
And when
So
people
amazing.
and
That,
the
that, that,
person shares it,
go ahead.
whether we think it's maybe like, oh, that's nonsense. You know what? To that person, that's what's helping them for
Yes.
now. Whatever they need for now. But listening is a good one.
You know what's funny? I've got a list here. I've got a column of what not to say and what to say, and you just covered almost all of the things. Like,
Wow.
literally, they have here: say nothing, just be with the person. My, I'm just a phone call away if you need something. Give a hug instead of saying something. We all need help at times like this. I'm here for you. I wish I had the right words. Just know that I care. And the number one was I am so sorry for your loss, because that's just an easy one to just say, I'm so sorry for your loss. It's neutral. It's not, and definitely saying, you and your loved one will be in my thoughts and prayers. And then this one was interesting. My favorite memory of your loved one is, and then literally they would say, that's kind of
nice.
cool,
Yeah.
right? Instead
But again, that's uncomfortable is do we share a memory? Don't we? Then if
Right.
you feel that way, just ask the person, do you mind if I share a memory of them?
Yeah.
Would you
And
be
I would
okay
hope
with that,
that I would hope that it's something positive and it's not like
Yeah, but what about if that memory will hurt someone?
Right.
I guess that's what you gotta be careful. Yeah, because my
Yes.
favorite memory of your wife is when she cheated on you with me. That would be a problem.
How do you know so and so? Oh well.
We met at the strip club there.
It's great. Your wife is the greatest dancer I have ever seen.
Yeah. Like, they were singing certain things, and like, you have to be careful. You really have to. You mean well, but you have to be careful.
Yes.
Very,
I would think that
very
you
thin line.
use some sort of discretion, right? You would say, okay,
Yes.
this is something that's great or whatever. You don't want the person to be like, security, remove this guy.
You also have to be careful putting expectations on the griever. When I mean by that, oh, call me if you need anything. Oh, let me know. Reach out to me. Well, they're grieving. Okay.
Yeah.
So even if they want to call someone, it's going to be very difficult for them to make that step. They're grieving.
And please don't just say it if you don't mean it either. Like, don't just say it. And then when they call you, like, oh, what's this person calling for?
Or how about we make that call? The ones who are, we'll call you. We'll call you and just ask. Do you need anything? Are you okay?
Cool. Very cool. Very cool.
That would be nice if people wouldn't. We mentioned that in our last show with Erin, that when let's say a spouse passes away, that we're losing those friends that they had, just like we're losing them in a divorce. Half of the family and half of the friends.
It's a new life, a new adjustment.
So like that will be beautiful. That would not happen, because that way those friends of the spouse, their connection to the life that it was, to the memory, that actually when someone is ready to talk about them, to hear the good stuff, the funny stuff, the jokes that they were not privy to before they met them, that would be very helpful. But
Yeah.
a lot of times, unfortunately, friends of the person who is passed, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, okay," and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
You
it.
sometimes
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah. I found out after my parents died that they were around since the 1940s. Jamaica got its independence in the 60s, in the 1960s, and they were young teachers at the time when that happened. And apparently, they were also two of the most educated teachers in the country, and they would send them together as a pair, she as a teacher and him as a principal, from basically from town to town to town to go and teach people the new curriculum, how to open a secondary school, how to open a primary school, because the country didn't have all of that. And I didn't know any of that until they passed away. So it's I was so proud to hear that, but I didn't hear it in the entire time that they were alive. You only heard it afterwards. So yes, you do want to not lose those connections from people. And there are a lot of people, I think my mother and dad knew that I just didn't pay attention. As a kid, you just don't pay attention to your parents' friends. In fact, you're trying to get away from them.
You're not gonna have a play date with them. You don't need them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was kind of cool to hear, all the different things. I'm sure there are a bunch of stories that you've heard, Erin, since your husband has passed. Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, if you do not know, if you hadn't seen part one, Erin's husband passed away suddenly. It was not expected, and that is part of the reason why she is using both her blog and her ministry. I'm going to refer to it as your ministry, guys. Okay.
Yes, okay.
At their church, with helping people in their bereavement group. Did you find out a lot of things about your husband that you did not know before?
There were some things where I was more surprised that maybe some of the longtime friends we've had, and they're sharing a memory that I either didn't recall it, or I was like, wow, I didn't remember that. Like what seemed so minimal to me meant
Yes.
more to them.
Yeah,
And
sometimes it's perspective.
another side of him to get to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the person, and then to honor them in that way.
Yes.
But even some friendships have changed. Sometimes it is awkward to be in a place amongst friends and them hearing either they talk about him or they don't talk about them, or they'll let you question, are they thinking about them? And it's the questions I have. So naturally, it's going to be for their friendships as well.
Okay.
Like in one of my blog posts, I was my last blog post was about waiting. An actual weight are pounds necessarily, and just the fact that like sometimes you're going to a place, a wedding, to an anniversary, and you feel alone amongst a room full of people sometimes, or you plan on everything else but the one thing that surprises you, and you just have to learn to roll with it, kind of, but try and plan it out as best you can. Trying to anticipate how you might feel, and then just being honest with yourself and with others on, I need a moment. I step away, and it's okay.
Yeah. It's difficult sometimes to accept for others
Yes.
that a lot of things, it's okay that they don't have to do everything possible to lighten the mood, to make someone feels better. Let them be the person. This is such a intimate feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Grief, it's it's as powerful as love, because it is love.
Grief
Yes.
is that no place to go.
So it's very, very, and becomes even more intimate after the person is gone, because then we digging in deeper into our hearts, into our memories, trying to relive and decide what we're going to keep, what we don't want to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Because to whoever you're speaking to after the loved one is that person was the best person in a whole wide world.
Right.
Because they choose to remember, hold on to those memories. When we know life is life, and each of us have arguments and this and that, but we choose not to remember that. We choose to hold on to the best of the memories that will bring us comfort, and it takes time to choose that. It takes time to process that, and it takes time, and it is okay to take your time for all that to happen. And yes, other people will be uncomfortable. It's normal thing to do. Yes, because if you don't know what to say, like you said before, say it. I don't know what to say. Just say it. But I want to help you. Tell me how. What can I do? If you're gonna bring that dinner, you know, filet mignon and potatoes and something else, say you're gonna do it. Do it. Just do it. Maybe that might be an excuse to check on a person. Oh, look, I just make too much. Maybe you would like some, or I made this for you, or something like that. Check on the person, be there for them, because like you said, it is difficult for a person who grieves to reach out for that phone and make that phone call and say, you know what, to open, because you're showing your weak points to somebody.
You tend to withdraw because you feel like it's just you know.
So to show your vulnerable points, it's very difficult because they are your friends, they're family, and you're losing someone that you to share that with, or a parent that you were open with, or someone else that is very close. You're not gonna have the same relationship with anybody else.
Right.
So now to expose yourself, to show your vulnerable points, it's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, that is also very true. What do you say, since we got you both here? What do you actually say to a person if you are counseling them? The person has come to you. So the person has come to you and say, "I can't shake this, and I don't know what I'm going to do or how I am going to get out of this." How do you counsel them? What are the tips perhaps that you give to them, or the things that you ask them to do? Are there things that you put them through? Are there reading things that they can read? Are there shows that they can watch? I find that my empathy comes out a lot when I'm watching. I love stories, right? So I'll watch a story, and I'll watch a story that has some grief in it. Some of them I can watch, some of them I have to the Best of Us. What's that show? There's a show called Something of Us or whatever.
This Is Us?
This Is Us?
Yeah, I can't watch that. I can't watch that.
I never did.
Every time I watch it, oh my gosh.
I can't.
We're changing that. They can't watch that. I will not watch that. So, there are some things I got to stay away from. But at the same time, I'm assuming there are things that you tell people to do. What do you tell them to do if someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I feel like it's taking too long and I can't get out of this. How can you help?" Or what can you tell them to do?
Do you think that?
I think it's just that we provide resources. We don't have the answers. Everybody's going to be different. So I think there's a couple of options. Maybe, like you said, suggesting a TV show or a story of some sort. Maybe it's reading material. Maybe it's listening to a song. But maybe somebody else might say, "Oh, I can't listen to any music. That song reminds me of that someone. I can't listen to any music." And that's okay too. Maybe they need to read something. "Oh, I can't read." There's a lot of options. Sometimes when we're reading, naturally during grief, our minds and our thoughts are very heavy, weighed down. So maybe they can't read. You ever read a book and you're reading the same sentence over and over? Sometimes that's what it can feel like. But maybe suggest Audible, where you can listen to it rather than reading it. And it's you're listening to it, or listen to a podcast, or I think we just offer resources because we don't have, I don't have the answers to everybody's going to be different.
Yeah.
I can give you resources that have worked for me, and I can offer you suggestions that other people have had success with. More importantly, I just want to and I know we've said this before, is listen to people.
Yes.
Because I think that's what they want, is they want to tell their story of their loved one and have a person who's going to listen. So oftentimes they might not be able to share it with their family or friends in fear that the person might, just be like, oh, kind of push it aside, because they're uncomfortable or they don't know what to say. So they want to tell the story of their loved one, but want to be heard. So I think as long as you create a space where there's a shared space, so to speak, where they can just openly share that, and then provide the resources, like, maybe you try this, maybe you try that. Sometimes you have to try several things to find out what does work for us.
So see, like bereavement groups, they'll expose people to other people that they will really understand them. They can really say, I know what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
So listening, sharing stories with others, it's a wonderful thing. It's very helpful because suddenly you realize that, okay, I'm not the only one. Second thing is, it's okay to take time. It's really okay. This is no time frame like, yes, in Poland, if you lose a spouse or a parent, you have 1 year of mourning period. You used to dress all in black throughout the whole year. You do other things. You have masses, and religion plays a big portion of grief, but not everyone is like that. So we're having different options. So besides listening and meeting with people that are going through the same experiences, journaling, um, reading materials, and the most of it, it's okay to grieve.
Yeah.
Make sure that they know that it's okay, and make sure that they know that there is no time limit.
Right.
That it's okay to take time. For some people, I know some people that they don't want to go back to the cemetery at all. Right. Because they want to hold on to the memories of them being alive, and it makes them very uncomfortable being there and looking. It's like, okay, this is it. There are some people, and this is okay.
Right.
Some people will go excessively, a few times
Every
a day.
yeah.
Not only a few times a day, they will go and because they want to be with that person, they want to talk to them.
They feel connection.
Yes.
That connection again.
And again, this is okay because that's what works for them. So for each and every person will be a different outlet. Some people like to write, some people won't. Some people like to talk, some people will listen. Different life experiences.
Yeah, the florist who one of my clients who I work with all the time, when Christmas comes around, people not only go to see the graves, but they order these things called grief blankets, I guess they're called. And
grief blanket, pillows.
Yeah, they're made out of flowers, but then she'll actually take a little blanket and a little pillow, and they take them, put them over the grave as if they're keeping them warm. And that is not something that like I had ever heard before. Like, it's just not. But when you go and deliver the thing, you're like, wow, this is beautiful, because that's what happens. Like around on Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and around Christmas, she doesn't have enough drivers. And so she'll say, Ryan, yes, you're the guy who helps me with my social media, but can you also deliver this while you're here? And I'll take something. And there are the people, and they are so grateful. They take it from you. And that's the other reason why I love Valentine's Day, too, because I'll show up at Valentine's Day and it's like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. The joy you present. Oh, on Mother's Day, too. It's the same. Honestly, delivering flowers is just joy, so I'll do it all the time. But when you deliver that, they're so, such gratitude, and they're usually in such a state where they're just taking care of that loved one, and remembering that they're. And there's one woman I'm pretty sure she orders every single year, and it's been many years, right? She's been my client for maybe 10 years, and I think I've gone every year. It's wild. Or seen the order.
Part of grieving, it's also honoring the memory of the loved one,
right?
And doing something either in their name or doing something that they used to do,
Mhm.
or doing something that they enjoy doing. So we heard funny story from someone that um, she knew that her husband, like for like Christmas, just to surprise people with like $20 bill, we will go have 100 and crisp 20s and give out to just people, and she,
Randomly.
yeah, randomly, the random people, yes. uh it's like surprise, it's Christmas, so you get 20 bucks and like, yay, and then when she tried to do the approach some homeless person, she didn't get the reaction that her husband was getting. She got freaked out.
He was trying to pick up where he left off, and it
Yeah.
didn't go as well as planned.
Yeah, so doesn't always happen this way. Like, it's like, why are you
But
giving
you
money?
find
What do
out
you want
your
from
own
me?
way how
You
to
know.
do things,
Yeah.
I know a funny story when my not funny but ironic, when my husband's first year anniversary was coming up. I wanted to honor him, and I was like, in New York, it's really frowned upon to light any kind of fireworks or light any kind of lanterns, even though people do. It's really kind of frowned upon, and I was like, well, I want to keep a spark alive, so I actually, handed out to family and friends who were close to us, close to me. Um, Handed out sparklers, and we all lit sparklers in his memory, to keep the spark alive.
Yeah.
But you have to find out what works for one of them, what makes you feel comfortable.
Well, there
A
are
lot
a
of
few
people
suggestions.
fundraisers or scholarships.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. I know a lovely couple in North Babylon that does that for their son, who passed away. I think it was from leukemia. And what they do is they have a toy drive in his name every year, and they get the toys and they take it.
And that keeps him
and
alive.
Yeah, and they used to do this game too, like a baseball game in his honor, because he used to love playing baseball. So they would go and do that as well.
What
Well,
a beautiful way and honor, but also keeping his memory alive.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
every year, everyone's talking about him. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful reminder.
yeah.
But
There's like
also
a
he
whole
passing
foundation.
it.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, things like, what about practicing self-care or exploring your spirituality? Like, apparently there are things that I guess people like the first thing you said is, yeah, allow yourself to grieve, but in some cases, like, allow yourself to cry too, because this person is gone, and sometimes
Crying is good, and again, people sometimes automatically grab the tissue box. Like, it's okay if they cry. It's good. It's healing. It's a
Yeah.
release of all the emotions.
yeah,
Now, if we're doing it where it's harmful, where we're not able to function after a while, then there might be some concern. But crying and finding a place. Sometimes, a lot of times, most men have a harder time crying.
that is not something we are basically allowed to do. Can you imagine if I was crying at work? That my boss would definitely be like, "Hey, Ryan, you're definitely making people. You need to snap out of it. You need to get out of here."
Ryan, you're always joyful, and now you're
Yeah.
sad. Like,
Now you're
what's going
crying
on?
all the time. You know what I mean? You should be over that already. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Get over it. Come on. It's been 6 months. Move on.
How dare you? How dare you
That is
still?
this. Come on.
Oh my goodness. I met. I know about one widower that actually he elderman. People were actually looking for girlfriends to introduce to
yes.
him. It's been
yes.
6 months. So listen, can you help me set it up? And it's like no, that's not gonna happen. It's like, let it go. He was with his wife for like 50 years. He's not gonna have a girlfriend.
Is that I'm assuming some things have to happen like right away. Like, if a person passes away, or even a couple passes away, and they were living in a place like in an apartment or in a home, I know there are people who are like right away, oh, he passed away. Do you know who's taking his house? What are you doing with the house? What are you doing? I mean, those things, I guess they have to be dealt with like right away. But I guess you have to try to handle it in a more delicate manner. I just don't know exactly what you would say when you have to deal with.
Yeah, it's like when to step and when not to, right? But
Yeah.
I think if you're questioning it again, like if you already know in your mind there's some like hesitation, maybe it's best to just pause and think it through before saying something or doing something.
Yeah.
But you're right. But self-care, crying is good, but also A lot of people have anger, and they're angry when someone dies, maybe they didn't get enough time, angry that they were sick, maybe angry just that they've passed away and we're
Right.
here. They have on Long Island now these rage rooms. I don't know if you've heard of them, but it's a way for you to go out, and so they'll have like baseball bats or sledgehammers, and you go into a room, and it's definitely safe.
You
And
mean
you
just
just smash things. You're getting your anger out, your rage. And there's different levels, depending upon where your severity is. But there's also, other ways that you can exercise. Some people just take that to another level, where they'll just exercise more or take up a new sport, if you would. Like, maybe you had just been running and now you've tried, pickleball or something, maybe trying something different.
when somebody's picture on a dartboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's getting it out in a healthy way without harming anybody, but
Just in anger, with anger
In
issues,
anger.
not grief.
and
Just the
once
anger.
it's done, it should be over. Not every time should you put it on there. Those pictures
Just
going
focus.
up every time.
Being kind to yourself, I guess, like, right? That's what you're saying. Basically, allow yourself a little bit of leeway for when this stuff is happening and when you have
Right.
those feelings and whatever. And I guess you gotta be careful, not to say the wrong thing or trigger the wrong thing. Like, there's definitely people who, a lot of our traditions and how we feel about people are wrapped into like holidays, for example. Like I was saying with the Christmas, thing that they're leaving on the thing, or in other. I mean, I can't imagine if, Erin, like Valentine's Day goes around and you're like, oh, okay, this is what he used to do or what he would have done, and now I'm no longer here. So yeah, I think it's fantastic that you guys have all this advice. And ladies and gents, I hope you are paying attention and you can get some of it or more of it. Well, I was thinking when you were saying reading, Erin, that it would be a great place to go and read her blog at beinggriefful.substack.com. I feel as though there's so many different ways that you can choose to express yourself over your grief and hopefully get over it. And thank you so very much, ladies, for coming up with and explaining to us like all the different things that you do or can do or shouldn't do for people who are in grief. You got anything special that you want to say that you guys had over there that you wanted to talk about specifically, or should we wrap up?
I do want to just mention my husband's godfather. He passed away. Today was the funeral. Unfortunately, due to my foot injury, I was not able to travel. So my husband had to go by himself to New Mexico to say goodbye to him. Gabriel Paponi. He was a wonderful educator, wonderful man, very easy to talk to. And when I met him first time years ago, my goodness, I'll never forget how warmed it was radiating from him and his wife, how wonderful they were welcoming me and trying to, talk to me to find out about me, about different culture, about this, about that. He was just wonderful. He will always stay. Very warm memory will always stay with us.
Nice. So you definitely will be able to commemorate him. That's great.
Yes.
Oh man. Oh yeah. So
Thanks for having me again. I appreciate this. This has been enjoyable once again. Grief is such a vast topic.
Yes.
Many different roads and turns and bumps. That's always a good conversation to have, and it's weird. It's almost like Charlie Brown, good grief, right? Like good grief. But
good.
the Charlie analogy again. I can't help it. But it's always good to talk about, because the more we talk about it and make it acceptable, the more open people talk about it.
Yes.
So thank you for allowing me.
No, thank you. We had a good time having you last time, so we want to definitely have you come by again. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are having a different kind of grief from your tax situation, I want to go to nytaxresolutions.com and check out my good friend and co-host Agnes Amasano. You are Agnes the Tax Pro. So if you're having difficulty, you should definitely check that out over there. Again, if you are experiencing grief and just want a little pick me up, I want you to check out Erin Delfino's blog over at beinggreefful.substack.com. My name is Ryan O'Neill Williams, and if you are a local business in the town of Babylon, that's what I'm going to talk about today. Definitely go to ilovebabylon.com to either leave a listing of your business there, but if you're a person who lives there, check out the ilovebabylon.com/events calendar, because that is where we have all the events and you can check it out. I haven't sent that to you, Agnes. I know it's nearby and it's not necessarily where you are, and you got to get over that foot thing, but there are fun things coming for the summer, so I'll send you the email so you
I'm
can
walking.
get it.
Don't worry, I'm walking. I'm mobile.
Yeah,
Not
that's right.
for long travel because
No.
the stitches are still there, but
Yeah,
I'm
but
okay.
fairs, festivals, like farmers markets, is everything going to say? Let's start with F. All that stuff is like fun that we do in the summertime. All right, Erin. Again, thank you so very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right, very good. All right, so you guys, you take care, and thank you everyone for listening to us as we talk about the things that we cannot escape: love, death, and taxes.
Taxes.
All right.